Yapi Hidden King Yan Jinzhi vs Spiritual Space Strong Jiang Mingyue, Double Rebirth+Strong+Double Cleanliness 1v1 plus Mutual Petition+Face Slapping. Trapped in prison, she accidentally found out that she was actually the bait for the other party. The other party's real purpose was to take the life of her only relative. How could Jiang Mingyue allow this? Enraged, the villain, successfully kicked down from Wuyun Mountain to pieces. Soul pierced into the era of material scarcity 400 years ago, only to wake up and realize that she had become a fake daughter. She had just jumped into the river and threatened her adoptive parents not to send her back to the countryside. Jiang Mingyue, who blends body and mind, said. In the countryside. Sister, it's hard not to ask. So, the supporting parents, brother and sister.in.law, as well as the White Lotus Pearl, widened their unbelievable eyes. The pretentious woman who had caused a huge uproar before and refused to go back suddenly seemed to have changed her personality, happily holding her own sister's hand and going home. Jiang Mingyue. Thank you for completing it. In the future, if you want to beat my autumn wind and take advantage of me. Humph. No way. Sister is the strongest king with unparalleled treasures. What? Behind the strongest king is a pinnacle of strength escorting him. Insider. Today is another day for lemons. Yan Jinzhi. My woman can go to heaven if she wants, I'll accompany her. Keywords of the novel. No pop-ups for the control group of the life winner in the novel, Chuanqing Era, complete collection download for the control group of the life winner in the novel, Chuanqing Era. Latest chapter reading for the control group of the life winner in the novel, Chuanqing Era. Chapter 1. The Return of Yen 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Return of Yen 1. Jiang Mingyue was awakened by the sound of rainstorm outside the window. Didn't she die in the Wuyun Mountain Grand Canyon? Where is this again? What catches the eye is a strange small room, with a large red peony warm water bottle and an enamel teapot printed, "Serve the people," on an old wooden table by the window. While Jiang Mingyue was still unsure of the situation, she heard footsteps at the door. She quickly closed her eyes. The door was violently smashed open. Brother Hai, you're saying that the moon is so big. Why are you so immature? What's wrong with not being able to speak up at home and running into the river? All right now, the neighbors are not sure how to arrange our family's mistreatment of her. The person who came in was Zhou Yi, the sister.in.law of Jiang Mingyue. She used to dislike this sister.in.law, but she dared not speak up when she was supported by her in-laws in the past. Now, everything is different. You say 2 less words. Jiang Yihai felt frustrated in his heart. His parents were determined to kick this sister out of the house. But this bad guy asked him to do it. Hai Gu, we used to be good to her because she was our biological sister.in.law. Now it has been confirmed that she is a fake and has nothing to do with our family. Keeping her like this would only be troublesome, so it's better to let her go. I said, shut up. Jiang Yihai interrupted again. Zhou Yi is not afraid of Jiang Yihai and continues to complain on her own. Do you think, how much has my sister.in.law spent on our parents' money at home these years? I heard that my parents also want to buy her a house and add dowry. Hai Gu, these funds are our common property, and we can't afford to be any cheaper than outsiders. Zhou Yi, I only took a liking to you, a foolish woman, because I was blind. Zhou Yi was instantly silenced by Jiang Yihai's sudden roar. Such a big commotion makes it difficult for Jiang Mingyue on the bed to pretend. And she has just received the memories of the original owner. I figured out one thing, she not only wore clothes, but also books. It's just that bad luck has become cannon fodder in the book. That book seems to be called True False 1000 Gold Control Group. In the article, she was used as a reference for this fake daughter. Despite living in a superior environment, she eventually became an ant that everyone could step on, and of course, she was trampled to death. On the contrary, it is a true daughter even though she was deliberately picked up by her rural foster mother and grew up in a difficult environment, she still managed to complete high school through her own efforts. Inspiration. Later on, as she recognized her biological parents, she worked even harder. This spirit helped her win love and eventually achieve success in her career. The ending of the article mentions that Jiang Mingyue eventually became the founder of a multinational company, renowned both domestically and internationally. A safe winner in life. On the other hand, every time the original owner mentions it, it is a sigh given by others. At this moment, Jiang Mingyue wanted to scold the author of the book for being mentally disabled. She had been fighting against the original owner for just 1 month, and various negative moves had emerged. However, no matter how she looked at it, Jiang Mingyue did not possess the qualities written in the book. Success is success, but how to achieve it is worth discussing. If it weren't for the little dragonfly pulling her as a bedtime reading material, she wouldn't even touch this kind of book. Brain disability, all kinds of irrationality. Mingyue, have you woken up? Unconsciously gritting her teeth, Jiang Mingyue was forced to wake up. Jiang Mingyue, who slowly opened her eyes, wanted to test her spiritual power first. Fortunately, her spiritual power followed suit. What ruins our values is that these couple are really nothing. Well, big brother, are you here to bring me food? Great, I'm so hungry. Reached out to pick it up, Jiang Yihai looked embarrassed. No, little sister, TSK, in ancient times, people had to manage to be full before going to the guillotine, but it was her turn as a modern person to go hungry. Alright, don't you just want to drive me away? I'm leaving. Talking to the person in front of me is really boring. Now it's their turn to be stunned. You should know that the reason why this fake sister went to jump into the river is because she doesn't want to go back to the countryside, insists on not leaving without saying anything, and can't accommodate her own sister Pearl. In the past month, there has been a lot of noise and disturbance, causing a huge uproar in the house. But now she suddenly agrees to go home, how can it not be shocking? I said, big brother, since you want me to leave, you also need to go out first and let me tidy up on my own. Ah. Okay. No, little sister, do you really agree to go back to the countryside? As sure as fate, Jiang Yihai's tense heart finally relaxed. After all, the task assigned by his mother was successfully completed. Little sister, I actually can't bear to let you go. Why don't you go beg our mother? She loves you so much and definitely can't bear to let you go. But in my heart. Go. Going there is also a waste of effort. Jiang Mingyue, whose spiritual power continues to track. What if she really doesn't want to talk to someone who thinks she's right? Oh my. Little sister, let us out, what are you still doing? Zhou Yi, who had always thought he was the heir, suddenly went to drag Jiang Yihai and dragged him out. When the door closed, Jiang Mingyue quickly got out of bed and realized that her room was completely empty. The original owner's clothes are all gone. I actually saw a green shoulder bag squatting in the corner, as well as a mesh bag filled with things. Jiang Mingyue can guess that it belongs to the original owner without having to confirm. It seems that Jiang Mu is indeed determined to let her leave. If the original owner were alive now, she would definitely be very sad, wouldn't she? Fortunately, she is not the original owner. She comes from 2422, during a period of great chaos in the world, where billions of people seem to wither overnight, leaving only a few million people, approaching destruction. It is imaginable that the world is difficult, but she is fine. Her abilities are top-notch, but she also has a cousin who is dedicated to protecting her. Despite facing life and death several times, she managed to carve out a shelter for her in that difficult and chaotic world. The accident occurred when my cousin was escorting the latest antibodies to the southern headquarters. Suddenly, someone led the way in causing trouble at the B area base. After she calmed down with her people, she found that the little dragonfly was missing. In order to find little dragonfly, she disregarded Tang Ji's warning before leaving and left the B area base without permission. She chased after her all the way to Wuyun Mountain, only to realize that she had fallen into the trap of her arch-rival. The sister of the archenemy died before, and this account was pinned on the cousin's head by the archenemy. When she was caught, she wanted to use her as bait and set up a trap to lure her cousin into the game. She saw through the opponent's trickery, and her words angered her. In a fit of anger, the other party knocked her down a cliff, causing her body to fall to pieces. Before her death, her soul gathered and she woke up to become the current Jiang Mingyue. Actually, she doesn't need them to rush, she also has to leave. According to the historical process, in another month, all schools in Nanxi City will also be closed. When the city becomes chaotic, it may not be as safe as in the countryside, and universities cannot be taken. It is better to go back to the countryside. Moreover, if she doesn't leave again, Jiang Jinzhi will propose to marry her in 3 days. In the book, it is said that the father of the original owner in the rural area died early, and the mother dragged the 2 children and 2 daughters to grow up. If Jiang Mingyue returns, she will fill the gap of Jiang Jinzhi and be ranked 4th. But according to the ending mentioned in the book, the other 3 siblings will have a difficult life in the future, and they have all taken a predetermined detour. Jiang Mingyue wants to see if the gears of fate will be different when she joins the rural old Jiang family. However, before she leaves, she has to do 3 things. A bright moon. When other female leads appear, it's their wedding night, so why don't I have that eye candy when Mao Luan arrives? Am I not worthy? Strongly protest, I need a good-looking little brother to help me wash my eyes. Author. Stay calm. Your Yen brother is already on his way here. Brother Yen. It's been 3 years, and I don't know where my bright moon is. Bodhi, have you woken up? What are you saying? My moon has come to meet me. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Return of Yen 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The Return of Yen 2. Jiang Mingyue lifted her eyes as she carried her shoulder bag, and upon inspection, she saw 100 yuan and some tickets. And in the net pocket, there were 2 old clothes that had been changed and washed by the original owner. He shook them casually, but unexpectedly a note floated out. Picking it up, it was a line of words. Hello, let's do it ourselves. Our mother-daughter relationship ends here, don't say goodbye in this lifetime. Once again, I am glad to see that it is not the original owner. This font looks like it was written by Jiang Mu. Flipping back, there was nothing else to say. Jiang Mingyue didn't have any extra emotions. She casually tried the space and everything could be thrown in, but it was desolate inside. The only good thing was that the pharmacy at the Base Research Institute came with her, so at least she didn't have to worry about getting sick. Take out the shoulder bag and net bag again, put them on the body, and lift the net bag with one hand. When she opened the door and went out, there was no one in the yard, but the psychic knew that the people in the main room were watching her with curtains attached. Jiang Mingyue pretended not to know and lifted her foot to leave. It can be said to be clean and efficient. But at the crossroads, Jiang Mingyue felt a bit confused. There wasn't even a sign on the road in this small town. How would she go back to Qingshan village by herself later? At the same time, at the opposite alley entrance, a 20-year-old fried dough twists girl was looking around for help from passers-by. She came to pick up her younger sister with the hope of the whole family, it's her own sister. At this moment, 2 girls wearing beautiful dresses walked towards her, and Jiang Jinmei immediately ran over with a smile. Comrade, could you please ask? Before Jiang Jinmei could finish speaking, one of the girls who was asked interrupted her with a bad tone. Is that you? Jiang Jinmei, how did you come to the city? The girl who spoke had a slightly dark skin, but she was wearing the trendy new brag. This tone is really uncomfortable, as if she is a top-notch relative coming to catch the autumn breeze. Jiang Mingyue didn't recognize it before, but now when this person makes a sound, she also recognizes it. Isn't this the little sister Pearl who grew up with her and lived in the same room? Pearl. The voice was a little aggrieved. Although it was not a sister's, we were still dependent on each other for 18 years. But the other party clearly couldn't empathize with her. Jiang Mingyue, may I ask you something? At this time, the little sisters holding her hand finally came back. Pearl, is this your sister from the countryside? She's not here to ask for money, is she? Although the latter half of the sentence was not spoken, the gaze that looked up and down clearly meant that. Jiang Mingyue seemed to have been stabbed by something, and her stubbornness made her straighten her spine. No, I'm just here to pick up my younger sister and go home. Can you take me to find her? Jiang Jinzhi had long hoped that someone would come and take Jiang Mingyue away, but she did not overlook Jiang Mingyue's attire. Patched old clothes, without any decor, just like a poor old man wearing them. The pants were also patched, and grass shoes were on her feet. She also came out of that house, and Jiang Mingyue knew that this was already her best attire. You should know that Qingshan village is the poorest village in the entire commune, while the Laojiang family is the poorest family in the village. You can imagine how difficult those days were. And she used to dress up like this and live like that. Not having enough to eat and not being warm. Unfortunately, she shouldn't have suffered these things. It was Jiang Mingyue who took over her life, so she must recover this debt no matter what. Jiang Mingyue, you can never live a good life in this lifetime. At this moment, Jiang Jinzhi also made up her mind. Of course, she should let Jiang Mingyue lead her away, but she must not take her home. If this appearance were to be seen by the people in the courtyard, her face would be ruined and her once unbearable growth environment would also be ridiculed privately. Just thinking about it would make her unable to bear it. Let's go. Jiang Jinzhi did not care about her little sisters, but answered Jiang Mingyue's words. Hurry up and send the person away, make sure to let them leave one pair at a time. I originally planned to lead the person to the flower bed on the east side of the intersection, and then deceive Jiang Mingyue out. But now, it seems unnecessary. Jiang Jinzhi saw the person from afar who made her hate her to the bone. And that person was still carrying the package that his mother had packed up last night. Before seeing her mother, she took advantage of Jiang Mingyue's coma and had already listened to her words to empty out the good things in the room, leaving only 2 old clothes, which were stuffed into this net bag. Jiang Jinzhi touched the watch she was wearing in her hand. Although it had been used, it was still 90% new, and it would be hers in the future. At this moment, Jiang Mingyue was certainly not daydreaming, but watching the ants moving on the flower bed. She found it too interesting, with such a small body but infinite willpower, carrying heavy objects even heavier than their bodies, constantly busy as if not tired. It is unknown whether it is necessary or enjoyable. Perhaps sensing something, the person who was originally in a daze suddenly looked up. Her eyes met, and Jiang Jinzhi temporarily suppressed the hatred reflected in her heart and exposed it clearly to another person's eyes. But she, Bai Lian, closed her fried dough twists braid and instantly regained her smile. She was about to say hello to Jiang Mingyue, but she didn't want the man to look directly over her. Jiang Jinzhi was not happy at the moment. Didn't she have to collide with her every time she saw her before? Today is quite peculiar. Jiang Mingyue. It's not surprising, you're not that important in my heart. Of course, I have to avenge the original owner, but that will only be convenient. There are more important things waiting for her now. Approaching, are you a sister? Undoubtedly, Jiang Mingyue's gaze was on Jiang Mingyue. This girl who bears a striking resemblance to her. And Jiang Mingyue was also looking at the girl in front of her with a hot gaze, without anyone introducing her. She was confident that this was her own sister. Not only in appearance, but also the familiarity between hearts. By the way, this feeling is right. This is the feeling between sisters. Yes. Yes, I'm Jiang Mingyue, your third sister. Are you the younger sister Mingyue? Yes. You are such a bright moon, I really like you. Jiang Mingyue said, With some uncontrollable excitement, my heart, please be more reserved. Speaking of which, fortunately it's two girls. If one man and one woman were to gaze at each other with such hot eyes. That's all. I'm afraid it's going to be chaotic. The neighborhood, who used to be pitiful for being long, pitiful for being short, said it was too miserable, now breathes a sigh of relief for this girl who has grown up. Fortunately, after all, she has returned home. This sister looks good, so this family should also be good people, except for being too poor. It can be said that since the sisters met, they only saw each other. Fortunately, Jiang Mingyue didn't forget the main matter. She took Jiang Mingyue and went to find Jiang's father according to the route in her memory. Sister, wait for me here first. I'll be right back when I see someone. Stuffing her things into Jiang Mingyue's basket, Jiang Mingyue turned around and entered the next door. The gatekeeper saw her and waved at her with a smile on his face. Jiang Mingyue remembered that this gatekeeper was an old man who used to always feed the original owner. Hello Grandpa Ma. TSK, the girl's mouth has turned sweet, she boasted, but her heart was filled with panic. The little girl had suffered in the hands of those people. He has heard a little about the Jiang family's situation. In his opinion, even if it's not his own, he has been raising her for 18 years, no different from his own. I just don't know how the Jiang family forced her to jump into the river. That's not because Grandpa always gives me candy, was sweet. Grandpa Ma was amused by Jiang Mingyue's words and smiled as he tapped her on the head. And they didn't know, right at the window on their second floor, a pair of eyes were looking good. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The Return of Yen 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 The Return of Yen 3 Not bad, this is Mr. Jiang, named Jiang Kongsheng, the office director. Suddenly seeing this amusing scene of grandparents and grandchildren, Jiang's father felt a bit uneasy. Once upon a time, their family was in the same situation. A little girl who was proud of herself would also make jokes in front of him, knowing that sweet words were meaningless, but every time she softened her heart. I just never thought that those beautiful things would become fleeting, leaving me feeling bored and impatient in my spare time. When Jiang's father was stunned, the door had already knocked. The open door, with just a glance up, saw the little girl with a bright smile just below. Jiang's father didn't let his face down, he let her in as if it were business. Jiang Mingyue didn't hesitate and just sat over. Looking at her naturally familiar appearance, Jiang's father couldn't help but want to twitch his lips. It's really the same as before. But this statement was immediately denied by him in his heart. It's still different. The little girl from the past would definitely be the first to get close to him when she came over, and she would also carry small snacks in her hand to feed him. She would let his father taste everything she liked. But now, those intimate, like foam, will disappear at a touch. After calming down his thoughts, Jiang's father couldn't help but speak first. Wake up. Are there any other discomfort in your body? Having received these words, Jiang Mingyue felt comfortable in her heart for the original owner. But thinking that the original master's fate had been explained, he stopped again. She wants to tell him. The little girl who used to be coquettish around you has died. You won't see it again in the future. But it can't be said at all. Nodding, everything is fine. Dad, I've decided to listen to you and go back to the countryside. Jiang's father was clearly stunned. He carefully looked at the face in front of him, as if he wanted to see the truth from that familiar yet seemingly unfamiliar face. It's true, after this experience, I have come to understand. Pearl has indeed suffered. In the future, I won't argue with her anymore. I will go back to where I should go, and my parents can also spend less effort. That's it. It's called a light breeze. Jiang's father's heart was instantly sour, almost blurting out the idea of leaving his daughter behind. But suddenly, he thought of last night's pillow-side breeze, and Jiang's father came to a halt. Over the past month, he couldn't bear it anymore. At his age, all he wanted was a peaceful life, like the previous noise. He didn't want to go through it again. Reasonably, Jiang's father nodded and then dug out all the money in his pocket and handed it to Jiang Mingyue. Jiang Mingyue. I really want to have the courage to refuse, but when I think of the desolation in my own space, sigh. Forget it. Return some, Dad, you can keep some money for personal use, as long as I have something to use. Jiang's father was very pleased and insisted on giving the rest back to Jiang Mingyue. Okay, it's hard to resist a grand occasion. That's enough preparation, it's time for her to go on this trip. Dad, I'm not just here to say goodbye, I have other things to tell you. The girl suddenly became serious, causing Jiang's father's heart to thump and his heart to hang. I'm not your daughter, that's true. But you can't just say it's your child just because Jiang Jinzhi has a face similar to my mother, can you? It took Jiang's father a while to understand the meaning behind Jiang Mingyue's words, and his face instantly turned black. Jiang Mingyue didn't give him a chance to flash thunder, so she quickly exposed another thunder. Also, haven't you ever doubted brother Jiang Cheng's situation? Jiang's father looked back not in black, but in shock, because the word Jiang Cheng was taboo in the Jiang family, to the extent that several of his children did not know that he once had a biological eldest son. Jiang Cheng was the child he had with his ex-wife. When her ex-wife died of illness, the child was still young. He only found a second wife for the sake of his child, just to take care of his son. But soon after, this son was still lost. As a 3-year-old child, he knew nothing and secretly asked someone to search for him for several years without success. In the end, he was powerless to judge whether the child was more or less unlucky. This was an eternal pain in his heart that others could not touch. But where did this girl find out? You really didn't doubt it. Dad, brother Jiang Qing didn't get lost on his own. If you don't believe it, you can send someone to investigate your current wife. How did you know? Oh. Coincidentally, there was a time when my mother wasn't sick and didn't know anything, she said. I took care of her all night, and then I accidentally hurt her. Found someone to carry the blame. But in fact, Jiang Cheng was not lost by himself, and Jiang Pearl is not Jiang's father's biological daughter. Jiang Mingyue threw 2 thunderbolts over, regardless of whether Jiang's father could bear it or not, and left after the explosion. Anyway, at least it planted the seeds of doubt. If it's just that Jiang Jinzhi is not Jiang's biological daughter, Jiang's father would definitely not believe it. Once Jiang Cheng is involved, things will be different. This is like the power of tug-of-war. The red team that was originally determined to win suddenly exposed an inner ghost. Alright, people's hearts have dispersed, where can they still be twisted on a rope, similar to loose sand? She's not here to cause destruction, she wants to give Jiang Cheng and Jiang's father justice, so as not to be kept in the dark for a lifetime. In the book, brother Jiang Cheng was seen by his father on TV and recognized at first glance, only to suddenly realize that he had been deceived by the person next to him for a lifetime. At that time, he was already critically ill, and with a sudden realization of the truth and a burning desire, not to mention recognizing his biological son, his old life was immediately revealed. It can be said that it has left a permanent regret. Jiang Mingyue is not good at judging Jiang's father's heart towards the original owner. At least before Jiang Jinzhi appeared, this father was wholeheartedly devoted to the original owner, only later. But no matter what consequences may arise later, I believe finding Jiang Cheng will always be the father's obsession. And Jiang Jinzhi, there's no need to wait for that white lotus to stand firm. She'll take her back first and see how she can still act as a demon and harm others. He joins Jiang Jinmei and prepares to leave, but sister's stomachs growl at the same time. Jiang Jinmei blushes, Jiang Mingyue. What is blushing? However, it seems that she hasn't eaten for a day and a night, and now she's so hungry that her chest is pressing against her back. She needs to quickly replenish her energy. Girl, are you leaving now? Grandpa Ma chased after her and gave her an oiled paper bag. Jiang Mingyue naturally collects it into Jiang Zhenmei's basket, just like eating and drinking water. Jiang Zhenmei. Grandpa Ma, when I come to the city to see you next time, you must take good care of yourself and leave. Grandpa Ma couldn't help but mourn the spring and autumn, and people had already disappeared like the wind. Grandpa Ma laughed and scolded, "You heartless dead girl." 10 minutes later, the two stood in front of a state-owned restaurant. Jiang Mingyue looked at the door like a gorilla, and finally went in. She almost forgot that there is no 7-star hotel here. And this is already the best restaurant in this small town. There are more than 10 tables inside. There isn't a single table of guests. Oh, no, there's one. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Return of Yen 4. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 4. The Return of Yen 4. Strictly speaking, he is a man who, at a glance, will never forget his misfortune. In front of men, there are 3 dishes and 1 soup: braised pork belly, braised fish, plain fried yulanpian, cucumber and egg soup. TSK, it's really luxurious. Isn't it true that people in this era can't even eat enough potatoes? It seems that no dynasty or generation lacks wealthy people. Can this man finish eating alone? Soon, Jiang Mingyue dispelled her doubts. Ah! Here comes the wine. A young man walked in at the restaurant door, carrying a bottle of Mao Tai and a bag of fermented peanuts, and headed straight to the Peugeot man's table. Jiang Mingyue only then noticed that there were 2 bowls and chopsticks on the table. Perhaps after being watched for a long time, the man suddenly looked towards her. Seeing her, her troubled face clearly froze. Jiang Mingyue is not sure, so. Hello. Comrade, although I am dressed in plain clothes now, it doesn't make you suddenly look at me like a cave person. You haven't seen the world before. Fortunately, Jiang Mingyue had thick skin and didn't care. She shouted to the waiter in front of her, nodding and dozing off like a chicken pecking at broken rice, "Comrade, have a table of the same dish as that one. 2 bowls of rice to eat now." The girl who had been disturbed by Qing Meng clearly didn't get up in anger. She paused for a moment and explained with a good temper, "Sorry, it's past noon business hours. I don't know if I really heard it clearly or if it's a conditioned reflex." Jiang Mingyue stared at her. "Are you fooling ghosts? I don't know if the confrontation here was too intense, but suddenly I heard a man's soft laughter. Follow the sound, it's a disaster." Looking at the mischievous waters with a good temper. "I really don't feel guilty at all. Are you hungry? The chef has gone home at this point. If you don't mind, come and eat with us. It's my treat. Is there such a good thing?" The waiter quickly agreed with great insight, "Yes, even if you want to order, I don't know how to stir fry." The chef really went home to rest. The business hours have really passed, and there is a morning, middle, and evening business schedule at the door. Jiang Mingyue originally intended to scold the waiter and ask, "Can you explain why this table is so unique?" But for the sake of the invitation, he closed his mouth. Don't implicate innocent people. And the young man who brought the wine was also watching them kindly, clearly a cheerful and talkative man. Zilai warmly greeted the 2 of them and said, "Yes, come and sit down. Anyway, these are enough for 4 people to eat. Waiter, could you please have 2 more bowls of rice?" Confused, Jiang Mingyue set up a table with her sister. Jiang Zhenmei, who knew that state-owned restaurants were unaffordable to her, had secretly stopped her sister more than once, but she didn't listen to her. Jiang Zhenmei was about to cry, and she could even anticipate the awkward situation of not having money to give after finishing her meal. "I don't know if washing dishes can offset some of it. She can do the coolie," just do whatever she wants. But this sister clearly doesn't give her a chance. Jiang Mingyue shook Jiang Jinmei's hand and said, "Just eat with peace of mind." Then I walked to the window and brought back 2 bowls of rice. First, I handed them to the silly goose Jiang Jinmei and pressed the person down to sit down. Can she not be silly? This is white rice. They can only eat coarse-grained congee in the village. They can only eat 1/3 of their full food. Anyway, people are skinny, so they only need to live. It's good not to starve to death. Jiang Mingyue could guess the hardships of the old Jiang family, and she said to herself that when I go, not only can you have enough to eat, but you can also indulge in spicy food and indulge in indulgence. Don't worry. Just eat with peace of mind. Politely said, "Thank you," and politely cleaned up braised pork belly. Of course, first cleaned up for the skinny sister. This sister needs nutrition. Otherwise, a gust of wind can blow it. On the other side, the man friend from the disaster water laughed and let her do whatever she wanted, while the young man beside him was already secretly shocked and his internal organs were burning. When did this master become so talkative? It was unheard of for him to ask 2 unfamiliar girls, but it was impolite for him to ask in front of others. His heart was tickling and he didn't even care about the delicious wine. Cough. What is the girl's name, please? I don't know if it was Xiao Mingtang's illusion. As soon as he said these words, he felt a strong sense of displeasure spreading around him. He thought to himself, might it be because he was bothering the other person's meal? Turning his head, he saw that the person was eating slowly and systematically, which made him feel like he was alone. It doesn't matter if you tell someone that you have a soft mouth. Jiang Mingyue, this is my sister Jiang Jinmei. Jiang Mingyue was so hungry that she didn't care about any etiquette. She even answered with her head down while eating, and didn't notice the clear expression of the disaster water across from her. It seemed to him that all of this was just further confirmation, or perhaps no confirmation at all. When he first saw her. Or perhaps it is when the bond, like a tangible thread, gradually draws closer before a person can see it. And one of the Buddha beads on his wrist seemed to be telling him. Look, I'm shining, she must be nearby. Suddenly emitting the first excited light in 3 years. Everything seemed to be on the right track. Unfortunately, he cannot express it in person. Jinmei and Mingyue, good names. Let me also introduce myself, Xiao Mingtang. The person next to me is Yan Jinzhi. Yan Jinzhi. Jiang Mingyue had almost finished eating at this moment, her dullness subsided, and her head gradually turned. She felt that the name was somewhat familiar, as if she had heard it somewhere before. There is also the beautiful and handsome face across from her, which inexplicably has a sense of familiarity when she wakes up from a dream, but she has searched countless times and there is no mention of his existence in the sea of consciousness. It's strange. A meal was extremely satisfying, and before leaving, Jiang Mingyue asked for the 5 leftover meat buns sold in the morning and packed them in Jiang Jinmei's basket. Waiting for someone to leave, the waiters were still amazed. It was common to group tables, but I had never seen a man who was so generous and beautiful. After the good-looking and generous man took his friend to the other side, a friend accidentally inserted his hand into his pocket and realized that his originally empty right pocket had some extra money at some point. No. Brother Yen, boss, I really don't know when I got into my pocket. I really don't know, but he can't recall when that girl had this opportunity to get close. Regarding this, Yan Jinzhi just glanced at him like an idiot and continued his journey. Yen, believe me. Yan Jinzhi didn't dwell on this topic. Go drive. Didn't you say you're going back to Beijing today? Tell you to go drive and then go drive, where's all that nonsense? Okay. When the 2 sisters went in the opposite direction, Jiang Jinmei also gave her 2 and 3 Jin food stamps she had brought. Well, all the belongings. Don't think she didn't see it, even though she was invited to act, this little sister quietly stuffed the money ticket they had eaten. This is a good point, not taking advantage of others, so as not to be constrained by others. What are you doing? Discovered. I know this amount of money is not enough, but I only have this left. I'll give it to you when I save up more. How do you save up? I can sew and make clothes, and then they will give me eggs and other labor compensation. If I save more, I can still sell them. Jiang Mingyue felt a bit sad. But I can't bear to refuse this sincere sister. Okay, then I'll wait for my sister to save money. Jiang Jinmei breathed a sigh of relief to herself. Little sister, you are so kind. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Return of Yen 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The Return of Yen 5. The second destination is not far, just take a turn and you'll be there. There is a sign from the Education Bureau hanging by the door. There was a young man guarding at the door, and Jiang Mingyue knew she couldn't confidently enter. Comrade, I'm here to find Cui Mingshi. Should I go in, or can you help me call him out? The gatekeeper Ronghua felt it was really fresh. The young girl in front of him was good-looking and spoke with a smile, but that's all. No matter how you listen, it's not very pleasant. Seeing the other party staring at her without moving, Jiang Mingyue didn't have the same self-awareness of blushing as other girls. Her white fingers tapped on the edge of the table and said, Comrade. Ronghua originally wanted to frown coldly, but looking at the smiling face of the girl in front of him, he couldn't bear to put in the heart to crush the flowers. Unknowingly exhaled a murky breath, picked up the microphone in front of him, and dialed the number. Jiang Mingyue glanced and said to herself, I have seen an antique with my own eyes. It turned out to be an old dialer with a rotary dial. I thought Cui Mingshi wouldn't see me, but she has already figured out the second plan. I didn't expect that person to come, and they came very quickly. There is also a follower by my side. I didn't speak, but the attendant spoke first. Oh. Who am I? It turned out to be Miss Jiang. After all, a fake can be considered, right? Cui Mingshi's cold face said, Shut up. No one thinks you're mute. The attendant indeed shut up. Jiang Mingyue was once again unexpected. Heart said. Didn't this engagement partner always dislike her? Every time we meet, we always use malicious language, but the original owner always rushes to stick it up. The original owner's impression of her person seems to be different from what she sees. Have you eaten yet? Her tone was still unpleasant, but it was definitely not a combination of harsh words. She was cared for by others. Nod. Mute. Is it so difficult to talk to me? Ah. Forget it. Cui Mingshi lowered his head to touch his pocket, but seemed to think of something. He turned to his attendant and said, The cigarette is gone. Can you go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy me a cigarette? The attendant doesn't want to leave and wants to watch the excitement, but he can't resist Cui Mingshi's bad looks at rushing people. As soon as they left, Jiang Mingyue knew what this person was going to do. Perhaps it was all she had on her, piles of money and bills piled up in front of her. Give it all to you, don't starve yourself. I don't want to go collect your body. After a moment, I might feel like I'm speaking too seriously. Well, if you can't get by in the countryside, come find me. I won't let you go hungry. A conscientious person. Jiang Mingyue almost slapped her thigh. She thought she was a foolish person with no vision, but she didn't expect her to be a rare understanding person. Jiang Mingyue certainly wouldn't want this person's money ticket, so she pushed it all back to Cui Mingshi's hands. I have hands and feet, it's not your turn to help. Of course, if I really can't survive, I will have the audacity to come to you. Cui Mingshi wanted to push it back, but he saw that the girl had already gone to a secluded place. He quickly followed suit. Are you looking for me for something? Nonsense. No, it's just because we got to know each other and came over to give you a message. To avoid green vines growing on your head. Before Cui Mingshi could answer, Jiang Mingyue continued, "It said that your family has taken a liking to Jiang Jinzhi. Are you going to marry her soon?" "Jiang Mingyue, don't talk nonsense, who is chewing your tongue in front of you?" Cui Mingshi was obviously extremely angry and may have been in a hurry to explain, with his neck burning red. This reaction doesn't seem to be fake. Jiang Mingyue tried to use spiritual power, but found that spiritual power was ineffective on this person. It's not surprising, her spiritual power is just like this, it can only work on people with ulterior motives. If the other person is not a bad person, everything will be ineffective. Another point that overturns the original book. The book tells that Cui Mingshi never liked Jiang Mingyue, but as soon as Zhen Qianjin appeared, he seemed to have lost his soul and immediately agreed to this marriage. Finding jobs for people, taking them home and doting on them, while Jiang Jinzhi gained the support of the Cui family, which laid the foundation for her future network and pushed her career to its peak, ultimately becoming a model female CEO for young people to learn from. Isn't it? Of course not, I only like her when I'm blind. Then Jiang Mingyue can put half of her heart at ease. With Cui Mingshi's temper, she shouldn't be interested in Jiang Jinzhi's White Lotus. Not the best, I'm worried that your head will turn into a green grassland. That's good. It said that there is a good friend named Ning Yan in the countryside of Jiang Jinzhi, yes. They are called Ning Yan. They were childhood sweethearts and have been secretly destined for life. Don't interfere with them. Cui Mingshi said. Jiang Mingyue, is there water in your head? Sigh. Forget it, for the sake of your life and death, I won't argue with you. Also, could you please give me a message to my sister. In.law. Anyway, you should avoid it. I'll write it on paper and give it to me with a pen. Turning back to the gate, Jiang Mingyue earnestly opened her head on their table and uncovered the dirty water that had been spilled on the original owner a year ago. In fact, the original owner had a good relationship with his second sister. In.law Zhu Xiangxiang, but it was the basin of water in the first half of a year that caused Zhu Xiangxiang to fall and have a miscarriage, and their relationship only reached freezing point. The key is that the basin of water was not poured by the original owner, it was a good deed done by sister. In.law Zhou Yi, or was it intentionally done? This matter was not mentioned in the book, but I saw it before when using mental power. After finishing writing, Jiang Mingyue quickly folded the paper and handed it to the stunned Cui Mingshi, avoid people and deliver it to my sister. In.law. Thank you. You, when did your handwriting become so good? Jiang Mingyue paused for a moment before realizing that she had inexplicably revealed her true identity. Of course it's a result of hard practice. Look, my index finger joint has started to develop calluses. Alright, I have to go home before it gets dark. I won't tell you about it. I'll bring you something delicious next time I go to the city. Alright, she has completed all 3 things she needs to do before leaving. Any one of them has been completed, which is not good for Jiang Jinzhi. If all 3 are done together, Jiang Jinzhi will wait to cry. Jiang Mingyue was happy in her heart and even took Jiang Jinmei into the supply and marketing cooperative. I said, sister, we don't have any money. Not afraid, I have it. Jiang Jinmei became anxious and said, even if you have it, you can't spend money recklessly. It's really difficult to earn money. Jiang Mingyue didn't care about her, so she simply sat down on the side and pointed to a few pieces of floral cloth, saying, here, and there. Give me some. Jiang Mingyue added dimensions, totaling 6 yuan and 3 cents, and 5 cloth tickets. She waited for her to settle the bill before the salesperson cut the fabric for her. Jiang Jinmei had already widened her eyes and said, sister, why are you buying so much cloth? She could make clothes for 4 or 5 adults. Of course it's a gift for you. I'll have to trouble Sister San to make it later. So it was a gift for them. No need. Little sister, just buy it for yourself and I'll go back and make it for you. What you want, let's go, third sister. I won't give this sister a chance to nag. I'm used to living a hard life and can't bear to be good to myself. Look at this outfit, it looks like what a girl who's about to leave the cabinet should wear. Jiang Mingyue, who was pushed out of the supply and marketing cooperative, finally quieted down. My younger sister is stubborn and has ideas, she can't control it. When the sisters arrived at the city gate, they found that someone had been waiting there for a long time. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The Return of Yen 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Return of Yen 6. Seeing Chi's 3 pairs of eyes staring at her, Jiang Mingyue quickly remembered that they were the original owner's childhood friend. However, in the book, there were only fragments of introductions, and group performances were not even considered, making her overlook their existence. Yeah, that's another flaw in that book. Who said Jiang Mingyue has a bad temper, is selfish, and doesn't have a friend who genuinely treats her? Someone spoke first, but not towards Jiang Mingyue. See, I said she will definitely come. The speaker was a slightly long-haired person with natural hair. Jiang Mingyue remembered his name as Fang Tao, and he was the most lively and talkative member of the Four Treasures of the Study group. The other two ignored him and crossed over to look at Jiang Mingyue, looking up and down. The tall and thin scholar Xu Wenquan said, "It seems that the recovery is good. Girls like Xia Xiaoxi are much more direct. They get started directly and say, Yue Bao, you're very worried. Don't fight that Bai Lian in the future, you can't fight her." Jiang Mingyue remained silent. In fact, she was using her spiritual power, but found that it was ineffective for these 3 people. Well, she is undoubtedly a friend, and only those with good character will rebound her spiritual strength, forming an automatic protection mechanism. Okay, listen to you. Xu Wenquan shook his head and said, "For people with bad intentions, it's not that if you don't provoke them, they will calm down. Let's take a look at this first." After speaking, Xu Wenquan opened his palm and suddenly spread out a lump of yellow earth-like material. Xia Xiaoxi. Is this soap? Fang Tao lifted his chin proudly, like a triumphant rooster fighting and dancing. Of course it's soap. This was found by the river with me and the bookworm. You don't know, it's late at night, and there are many mosquitoes. To find evidence, I and the bookworm looked at several bags, which hurt me so much. Fang Tao rolled up his sleeves and saw a row of big bags on his arm, which was shocking. Let me tell you, Moon Treasure is not someone who can jump into the river. It's clear that some people have ulterior motives. This was unexpected for Jiang Mingyue, as there was no mention of soap in the book. She only said that the original owner did not want to go back to the countryside, but could not resist her family's desire to send her away. Therefore, she ran to jump into the river, threatening her parents not to send her away. But it didn't say in the blink of an eye, Jiang Mingyue captured some memories of the original owner again, no wonder the original owner felt slipping under his feet at that time. Although it has just rained on the ground, it is definitely not slippery, and adding wet soap crumbs would be different. Jiang Mingyue looked at Xu Wenquan, the most insightful person in the group, and coincidentally, Xu Wenquan also looked at her. Jiang Mingyue almost avoided her gaze. It is these clear eyes that seem to be able to penetrate all obstacles and see demons and monsters clearly. Jiang Mingyue has no confidence in winning in front of such a person, and is worried that she may be showing off. But in game theory, avoidance is a major taboo when facing people, let alone they are not games. Having suffered this crime, I seem to be more sensible. Just go back to the countryside, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Fang Tao said, "Ah. Bookworm, why don't you tell them? We followed the trail and found that soap is related to Jiang Jinzhi's follower." Well, it's okay. Yue Bao, remember this Zheng Honglian. It was her brother who let it go. I suspect it was Zheng Honglian who ordered it, otherwise this wouldn't have happened so coincidentally. And all of these together. Do you understand what I mean? Jiang Mingyue said, She was worried for a while because she had unconditional trust. Understood, it all points to Jiang Jinzhi. When encountering at a crossroads, one should really exert mental energy from afar. Now we can only talk about it next time we meet. Xia Xiaoxi. What did I say? The first day I saw that woman, I realized she wasn't a good bird. By the way, do you remember who saved you? Jiang Mingyue looked bewildered. Xia Xiaoxi. You wouldn't think you climbed up on your own, would you? She really thought. But now she remembered being reminded of it. She seemed to have passed through at that time, her body wrapped in the water grass under her feet, her whole body sinking downwards, and her head weighing 1,000 pounds. But at that time, her mind was filled with the weightlessness of falling into the Wuyun Mountain Grand Canyon, and she didn't realize that she had already passed through. So much so that later it seemed like a strong hand was holding her waist, pulling her out of the entanglement of the water grass. She only thought it was the pine branch she hit with her waist when the canyon fell. Matsuki and human arms are different. But she couldn't remember more. Xu Wenquan shook his head and sighed when he saw her like this. I knew it. Forget it, they do good things without leaving a name. Let's keep it in our hearts. At this moment, Jiang Mingyue, who had been silent for a long time, spoke up. That, she pointed to the sun about to set in the west, little sister, we really have to leave. Otherwise, it would be dark. Then I'll leave, you three remember to think of me. Xia Xiaoxi quickly stuffed a package of things into her arms. Yue Bao, we can only send you here. You need to learn to take care of yourself. Xia Xiaoxi reluctantly tugged at Jiang Mingyue's clothes. These things were pieced together by the three of us, and you may need them. Unlike a net bag, a piece of cloth covers everything, and I don't know what's inside. Indeed, you are still the best to me. Thank you. I will come to the city to see you when I have time. Take care of everyone. Even if we can't bear to part ways, we have to leave. The next road, for some reason, Jiang Mingyue took it exceptionally easy, as if 12 kilometers were nothing, and another 10 kilometers was not a problem. Mingyue, they are all good. Don't forget them in the future. Jiang Mingyue said, listen to third sister. A 12-kilometer road is really difficult to walk. Walking on it becomes a complete mountain road, with stones on the road and potholes that test one's strength. Mingyue, don't look around, be careful under your feet, the road is not easy to walk. Sister, the scenery here is really beautiful. In the future, this place is a perfect tourist destination. Jiang Mingyue only smiled and said, it's good if Mingyue likes it. If the scenery is good, Qingshan village is even more beautiful, but they can't even eat enough, so there's no need to worry about the scenery. Mingyue, are you unable to walk anymore? Then sit on the stone and rest for a while. Third sister, listen, is there a sound of a car? Jiang Mingyue looked bewildered. It was not that she couldn't hear it, it was shock, the kind of iron bull that can only be seen in school textbooks. Are you sure it's the sound of a car? It's absolutely true, you wait, here you are, look. Jiang Mingyue turned around curiously and indeed saw a green guy who shouldn't have appeared swaying and quickly driving towards them. Jiang Mingyue grabbed Jiang Mingyue and pulled her to the side, this is very dangerous, let's avoid it. Jiang Mingyue, who still wants to take a ride, said, However, there was no need for Jiang Mingyue to think of anything else. The car came to a stop in front of them, with a head sticking out. Zaiyu, let's meet again. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Return of Yen 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 The Return of Yen 7, Xiao Mingtang, how could you be here? Jinzhi and I came here to look for someone, but unexpectedly we met your sisters. We really had a fate. Well, for this fate, I have to give your sisters a ride. Come up quickly. When there was a car rubbing against her, Jiang Mingyue would definitely not be polite. She was about to step up, only to find herself caught by the hem of her clothes. It's third sister. I can guess the reason without asking her, and didn't say anything, but I just pushed this sister onto the car and got on the car myself. After getting on the car, Jiang Mingyue finally saw the person in front of her, who was also turning around with a good temper to hand her melon seeds. Jiang Mingyue said, "Thank you. I won't eat it, this skin is not easy to take care of." "It's okay, Xiao Mingtang will clean it." Jiang Mingyue. She's just afraid of debris falling into the car. This person means she should throw the leather directly into the car. Seeing this person's stubbornness of not accepting or stopping, Jiang Mingyue had no choice but to take over. "Thank you." I handed it over to Jiang Jinmei. And Jiang Jinmei obviously didn't have the courage to eat melon seeds in their car, so she held them for a while and quietly stuffed them into her pocket. Jiang Mingyue ignored her and looked at the interior alone. How to say it? Very friendly. Who would have thought that this car would have descendants in a few hundred years, just a convertible, which is very common in B.zone bases. Of course, the interior decoration is still different, and the performance will definitely vary greatly. But this is the ancestor, this is a safe antique car in 400 years. She still remembers the history of this car. Last year, Chinese people produced their own 212, and there were not many in the country. However, she didn't expect to encounter one in this wilderness. If a bicycle is equivalent to a BMW of this era, then this 212 is equivalent to an airplane. "Xiao Yue, are you going to visit relatives?" Yan Jinzhi coldly glanced at the guy next to him who couldn't chat. The guy who didn't know how to chat was enthusiastic and imperceptible. "Xiao Yue, I don't think you're a girl from the mountains." He seemed to be pampered in the city. Still without a reply, Xiao Mingtang thought it was his topic that was inappropriate. He was about to go and look in the rearview mirror when he heard the voice of someone next to him. "Drive your car well." Xiao Mingtang didn't look anymore. The mountain road was indeed difficult to walk on, with potholes and narrow roads. There were some stones on the way to the director, but thanks to the high chassis of this car. Jiang Mingyue, who did not answer, had already fallen asleep, while Jiang Jinmei, who was next to her, leaned her head against her shoulder and fell asleep first. This car is really like a cradle, very hypnotic. When Yan Jinzhi looked back, he saw the girl's face, which was white and red. This is probably how time has been quiet. Relying on one's own hand length, cover someone with a coat. Xiao Mingtang secretly glanced at Xiao Yue and thought to himself that the boss was interested in her. He had someone set up a table at noon, and now he's letting out his clothes. I don't know if one day he might also let himself out. "Drive well." "Oh, good, I must be driving steadily." Jiang Mingyue, who was sleeping soundly, was actually not as peaceful as she seemed. She fell into a dream where there were various armored vehicles, and the sound of gunfire was incessant. The infected groups were shot to the ground, but in an instant, they turned into a sea of corpses and blood. In the boundless sea of blood, a tall man stood up from the dead silence. The blood painted his face like a canvas, but still could not stop his handsome outline. Suddenly, a thunder sounded, and the earth blew a gale, rainstorms suddenly fell, and lightning flashed across. The man's face washed by the rain leaped into the sky and the earth. Seeing that face clearly, Jiang Mingyue suddenly woke up in shock. "Have you had a nightmare?" A gentle voice came from the front seat. Jiang Mingyue looked at the face turning her head in front and wanted to say, "I was awakened by your face." So, the question arises again, is it a simple dream, or is this person also from over there like her? Jiang Mingyue couldn't help but feel excited inside, wanting to confirm immediately, but her mental strength couldn't even lift. When exploring the 4 treasures of the study before, she was at least bounced back, but unfortunately, her spiritual power was directly rendered ineffective. "It seems like..." The man smiled. "What are you laughing at? Your answer is quite novel." Of course not. The smile is that she is still the same as before, opening her eyes to tell lies. Xiao Mingtang beside him felt extremely strange. Since the restaurant saw this girl, the boss seemed to be possessed. Does anyone really have such a great attraction to another person? Big enough to subvert character design. Drive your car well. Xiao Mingtang's lament. Boss, you're not human, it's like you no mind reading. There's a family ahead. Xiaoya, let's see if it's your village. Jiang Mingyue didn't know, she could only ask Jiang Zhenmei, who was sleeping soundly against her. Third sister, do you think we have arrived? Without a gentle word, Jiang Zhenmei woke up with a strong reaction. Ah! It's here. It's so fast. Let's go back quickly, Mom should be in a hurry. This reaction made Xiao Mingtang, who was driving ahead, laugh uncontrollably and say, Xiao Yue, your sister is so interesting. Jiang Zhenmei suddenly realized what she had just done, and her face turned red with a swoop. Sigh. How can I lose face in front of my sister's friends? Jiang Mingyue thought for a moment and took the initiative to hold Jiang Zhenmei's hand. Holding her hand by her beautiful sister, Jiang Zhenmei's previous awkwardness instantly dissipated, and her entire heart was filled with warmth. Pearl has never held her hand like this before. The car stopped at the entrance of the village, and the sisters got off. Xiao Mingtang carried the basket onto Jiang Zhenmei's shoulder. Xiao Yue, that's all for you here. We have something else to do when we reach the commune. Goodbye. Thank you. Both sisters thanked and looked at the car driving away, then walked to a family. Did you see that soapberry tree? That's our family. Jiang Zhenmei was no longer as restrained as before, and at this moment, she was like a fish slipping into the water, extremely happy. It turns out that girls in this era are not rigid, they are more innocent and pure. Perhaps due to the darkness, Jiang Mingyue did not see that it was a soapberry tree, but only knew that there was a black shadow, the shape of a tree. Excited, Jiang Zhenmei pulled her into the courtyard without a fence. Suddenly, several black shadows shot out of the room. Jiang Mingyue instinctively wanted to defend herself, but suddenly remembered that this was not in Zone B. Don't be afraid, it's Big Brother, Second Brother, and our mom. Jiang Mingyue said, I've thought about many ways to appear, but I didn't expect this one. Mom, Big Brother, I brought the bright moon back. Hey. It's good to come back. It's good to come back. You're hungry, I'll go to the kitchen and bring you some food. Jiang Mingyue. Can you light up the lights first? There's no moon again, I can't see my fingers when I reach out. How did you see me? Let's go, Mingyue. I'll take you back to your room first. As Jiang Zhenmei put down her basket, Jiang Mingyue tried to smear herself and took a step, but suddenly she stumbled out and immediately got a big horse lying down. Crying out in pain, others also reacted, with anxious voices echoing one after another. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Return of Yen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 The Return of Yen. Bright moon, bright moon, bright moon, hurry up, second brother, light a fire quickly. I forgot your sister can't handle this kind of darkness. After a moment of confusion, Jiang Mingyue was finally lifted up, and there was finally light in the yard. It was the second brother who lit it with a branch, and as the fire gradually spread, Jiang Mingyue could finally see the original owner's family clearly. The dark elder brother's name is Jiang Jiangguo, he is tall and big. The book says that the villagers call him tall. The second brother who ignited the fire is called Jiang Jianjun, who looks more like their mother Shenfanghua. She is thin, tall, and has a bright and smooth appearance. Shenfanghua is a woman with no temper. Her husband died 10 years ago when he saved a few drowning children in the village in Qianhe. From then on, a woman dragged her 4 children to grow up. Fortunately, although the village was poor, she remembered Jiang's heroic act and gave 10 yuan of compensation every month until the youngest child reached adulthood. I fell and felt both embarrassed and painful. Jiang Mingyue cannot describe her current mood. Jinzhi is using the original owner's body now, not her former. Her current body is really delicate. Did you fall? Let me see. Jiang's mother lifted Jiang Mingyue's pants and said, "Second, bring the flames closer." As the fire approached, her knees turned red and her right knee was even scratched. Is it really painful? You can hold on a bit and ask your older brother to find some herbs to apply. The pain won't be so much tomorrow morning. It's okay. This pain is nothing, she can bear it. No need for Jiang's mother's orders, the big guy has already run out. In a short while, holding a handful of green plants in her hand, Jiang Mingyue couldn't recognize what it was. She saw Jiang's mother take the plants, pinch their leaves, and use the bottom of a bowl to drive them away from the table. They quickly turned into sticky fragments, then applied them to her knees and wrapped them with her handkerchief. Jiang Mingyue originally thought that being accepted would require a difficult process, but she didn't expect the Jiang family to open their arms and accommodate her directly. A lonely heart was swollen with sorrow. In her past life, she only had a cousin as a relative. She also thought about what it would be like to have a group of family members around her, but she didn't expect that wearing it would make her realize it. Alright, don't just watch Mingyue around either. Let her eat first. Mingyue, come over and eat quickly to see if it suits your taste. Jiang's mother puts food in front of Jiang Mingyue. There are 2 golden egg cakes and 1 golden coarse grain cake. It seems to be made of pure corn flour, and then a bowl of steaming vegetable soup. Eat quickly, if it's not enough, tell Mom. Don't worry about us, your brothers and I have already eaten. Too much. Jiang Mingyue smiled and went to see Jiang Jinmei's bowl. She found that this sister had already eaten it, but her food was different from hers. A bowl of wild vegetable soup like hers, and a black coarse grain cake. It's gone. Whether it's weight or quality, it's incomparable to hers. Third sister, help me to eat some, I can't finish it. Jiang Mingyue divided the egg cake and gave her half of the corn cake. No, Mingyue, you need to eat more, you'll get hungry. But I can't finish it. Okay, then. Jiang Jinmei was very greedy. It was made from eggs, and her family hadn't smelled the smell of eggs for a year. Mom, do you also have some to eat? Shen Fanghua waved her hand. You sisters, eat. I'll go to the kitchen to boil some water and take a bath for Mingyue later. Jiang Mingyue suddenly realized that there was no hot water to take a shower here. The 2 sisters had enough to eat and drink, took a bath together, and went to bed together. Jiang Jinmei's room is not big, with nothing left except a wooden bed. There is a neatly folded patched clothes at the head of the bed, which must be Jiang Jinmei's only change of clothes. No wonder there isn't even a wardrobe. Mingyue, do you want to sleep inside or outside? The bed is against the wall. I'll sleep inside. Perhaps too tired, Jiang Mingyue, who had originally thought she would not be able to sleep, quickly fell asleep and had no dreams all night. The next day, when Jiang Mingyue woke up and found no one on one side, she sat up with the blanket in her arms. Look around the room. The walls were mottled with no decorations, and the only window had no glass. 3 bundles of firewood were piled outside to block the light. No wonder the room is dark. Jiang Mingyue left the room only to find that there was no one at home, so she must have gone to work. Jiang Mingyue returned to her room and took out the large cloth bag given by the 4 treasures of the study. With some effort, she opened it and found 2 toothbrushes, 1 toothpaste, a mouth cup, a comb and mirror, a new set of clothes, a pair of shoes, as well as a pack of brown sugar and 2 packs of salt inside. There are quite a few things, all of which are what she needs. Simply tidy it up, take out the clothes from the net pocket, and casually throw them into the newly woven basket in the corner, there's really no place to put them. She needs to get a cabinet back. Carrying brown sugar to the kitchen, I realized that there was something hot in the pot. Opening the lid of the pot revealed that it was 5 meat buns brought back yesterday. They didn't eat it. Jiang Mingyue sighed. The family looked like that kind of person, so how could they be greedy for her meatballs? However, she was also really hungry and took one out to fill her stomach. It has to be said that the meat buns in this state-owned restaurant are too solid, with a lot of big meat and delicious to eat. When Jiang Mingyue had enough to eat, she had nothing to do, mainly because she was feeling unwell all over. Everyone else has gone to work, and it's not good for her to stay at home. She rolled up her pants and checked yesterday's injury, thinking it wouldn't be a big deal. After thinking for a moment, Jiang Mingyue found a basket and happened to have a layer of straw laid on the bottom of the basket. Jiang Mingyue flipped through the cabinet again, found a clean piece of gauze, wrapped the other 4 meat buns, put them in the basket, and then went back to the house to put the peanut pastry given by Mr. Ma in it. Cover a piece of cloth and carry it out of the door. On the way, an old lady asked for directions and said, "Auntie, I am the new daughter of the Jiang family. Do you know where my mother and sister went to work?" The middle-aged woman who was asked for directions looked around 60 years old, with only one eye. The remaining eye appeared particularly sharp, staring at Jiang Mingyue for a while before suddenly laughing. Very much like your father. Jiang Mingyue. Isn't it like Shenfanghua the most? It's good to come back. I don't want to stay at home. Oh, are you going to deliver food to your mother and her? Then you're going the other way, you have to go that way, see. Follow that road, pass through the birch forest, and then walk forward to see it. Thank you, Auntie. These 2 pieces of peanut pastry are sweet to please. Oh no. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Girl. My daughter has walked away. Jiang Mingyue walked through the birch forest, thinking she could see people at a glance, but she was dumbfounded. So many people. Thanks to her high standing and good eyesight, she finally saw Jiang Jinmei in a field after pulling her head once. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Return of Yen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Return of Yen. Jiang Mingyue suddenly happily shook off her steps and walked forward. Sister, why didn't you wake up and call me? Where are Mom and my brothers? Come and have some food. At first sight of Jiang Mingyue, Jiang Jinmei was noticeably stunned and immediately put down her hoe. Mingyue, how did you find this place? Before she could return, someone gathered around again. Upon closer inspection, it was Jiang's mother and 2 older brothers. Yeah, Mingyue, why did you come over? Your leg is still injured. Let Mom take a look. Jiang Mingyue quickly avoided and said, "It's already okay. I'm here to send you steamed buns to eat. Please sit down, one by one." Jiang Mingyue rudely pulled the person down and stuffed the buns one by one into their hands. Eat it quickly, it smells so good. Mine has already been eaten. You should also eat it quickly to avoid getting cold. Jiang's mother was supposed to give half to Jiang Mingyue, but Jiang Mingyue stopped her in time. The older brothers and sisters were happy to eat when they saw Jiang Mingyue persevering. In fact, they also really want to eat such a white and meaty steamed bun. They have never tasted it before, but they envy others. Now, they never expected to be able to eat it even with the help of their little sister. In the book, the eldest brother is 22 years old this year, and the second brother is also 21 years old. In the countryside, these 2 are considered young adults and should have married a wife long ago. But with the poor fate of Qingshan village, the girls from several nearby villages are unwilling to marry over. The girls from this village only want to marry off to other villages because their families are poor. Over time, there are more and more elderly men left in Qingshan village, especially the poorest families like the Lao Jiang family, who are ignored. Jiang Mingyue sighed to herself, marrying a Han, dressing and eating. Big brother and second brother couldn't even eat enough for themselves, which girl would be willing to marry? After they finished eating, Jiang Mingyue started dividing the peanut pastry again, and this time the whole family refused. Big brother. I said, little sister, how could such a good thing be eaten by this old man like me? You keep it for yourself and eat it slowly. Second brother. You if there's such a good thing again in the future, remember to hide it and don't show it to others. You can steal it and eat it yourself. We won't blame you. Jiang Mingyue said, It's really hard to laugh or cry, but my heart feels warm. In the end, Jiang Mingyue only divided it into 2 parts, one for Jiang's mother and one for third sister. Mingyue, the sun is too hot. Hurry up and go back. We'll finish planting the corn and then go back. Under the persuasion of the whole family, Jiang Mingyue had to go back first with a basket in hand. It seems that Jiang Mu and his team are planting corn, and they are planting according to the pre-divided area, unlike during autumn harvest, which requires people to gather together and rush to harvest, making it very lively. After Jiang Mingyue returned, she thought about learning how to do things and rolled up her sleeves to prepare lunch for the whole family. After searching around, she only found half a basket of potatoes and sweet potatoes, as well as half a vat of coarse grain. She didn't like these things and decided to go out again. Coincidentally, she ran into the old lady who had asked for directions before. Jiang Mingyue, what's up? Auntie, I want to cook a meal for my brothers, but we don't have rice and noodles at home. Can you lend me some? The old lady suddenly smiled and said, You are stronger than your mother. Your mother has a stubborn temper. She would rather starve than beg for help. If you could come to borrow food from me for the sake of your family, not to mention anything else, just this carefree nature will make the old lady's eyes turn red. You found the right person, come in. As a result, Jiang Mingyue borrowed half a bag of wheat noodles from the old lady, which looked like about 10 kilograms. Thank you, Auntie. When I'm done, I'll also bring a bowl to Auntie. The original owner doesn't know how to cook, but she does. Jiang Mingyue was busy for a while. Sometime later, she made lambian noodles for her family, but there was no meat. But she turned over some dried mushrooms before, soaked them in boiling water, and got some leeks in the backyard. The lettuce was washed clean, fried with the remaining sesame oil, mixed the flavor, and one person picked out a large bowl, and then took a bowl out. Auntie, come and taste the noodles I made. But before anyone arrived, Jiang Mingyue didn't delay either, so she left. Just as I returned home, I found everyone at home, but the yard was quiet. Extremely eerie. Jiang Mingyue was about to speak when Jiang Jinmei pulled her aside and said, Little sister, did you borrow food from Grandma Shi? Is the news spreading so fast? Yeah, we're out of food, Jiang Jinmei stomped her feet impatiently and said, Little sister, our family can't afford it. We can only eat half full when we eat coarse grains. Now we can still have 2 meals a day, but when it's time for farming, we can only have 1 meal directly. Our family will never have any surplus food to repay her. Oh, what are you trying to scare her into doing? Borrow it and then borrow it. When you come back, let your 2 brothers go hunting in the mountains and use meat to make it. Compared to the third sister, Jiang Mama is incredibly calm. Jiang Mingyue is also very calm. When she finds the seeds, the farm space of her 3 football fields cannot be eaten up at all. Big brother and second brother. Yes, we'll go hunting in the mountains at night and promise to return the wild boar to Grandma Shi. Can you take me with you when big brother and second brother are hunting? Jiang Jianjun was originally going to refuse, but as soon as he saw the new sister's eyes shining like stars, he nodded in a good temper. Okay. I have prepared lunch, please sit down and eat quickly. The whole family then put their thoughts on the noodles in soup on the table. The fragrant aroma drifted away, making it a mess. The two brothers couldn't resist it at first, so they buried their heads and started eating in large gulps. With just one bite, the two brothers were so shocked that they couldn't speak. It was too delicious. Ning Yan brought the letter to say that this sister doesn't touch the spring water with her 10 fingers. Take a look at this culinary skill, they haven't seen anyone who cooks so well before. Jiang Mama also repeatedly praised, our Mingyue craftsmanship is really good, even more delicious than the chefs I have seen. It's good if you like it. Jiang Jinmei paused for a moment and said, my younger sister, I shouldn't call my mom in person because I'm a bit worried. After lunch, the two brothers consciously tidied up and went to wash dishes, which surprised Jiang Mingyue more than anything else. Isn't it true that men in rural areas are very chauvinistic, not to mention washing dishes, they don't even enter the kitchen? The Jiang brothers are obviously not. Jiang Mingyue doesn't like washing dishes, so naturally she won't go grab them. When she had time, Jiang Mingyue pulled Jiang Jinmei aside and said, third sister, there is a bag of brown sugar in the cabinet. You and your mother usually drink more brown sugar boiling water, especially when it comes to that matter, which is good for women's health. Jiang Jinmei was stunned for a moment, then blushed and said, thank you Mingyue, but that thing is very expensive. You can keep it for yourself to drink. Where can I finish drinking alone? Don't worry, your sister and I have my own financial luck. With me around, our family will definitely get better and better. By the way, Mingyue, do you have anything to ask me? Yeah. For example, the book says that she and Jiang Jinzhi were intentionally swapped by Jiang's mother, with the aim of allowing her rural daughter to live a good life in the city. After meeting Jiang's mother, Jiang Mingyue felt that she couldn't believe this, as the book was probably being fabricated again. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Return of Yen 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Return of Yen 10. However, before Jiang Mingyue could ask Jiang Jinmei, an unexpected guest arrived at home. A good-looking young man with a scholarly aura that was out of place with this village. Jiang Jinmei immediately whispered to Jiang Mingyue, he's Ning Yan. He used to secretly meet Pearl. This is Ning Yan. Jiang Mingyue glanced at the young man a few more times and didn't want her gaze to collide with Ning Yan. I saw Ning Yan smiling with a gentle and elegant demeanor, no wonder he was very charming in the book. But Jiang Mingyue could catch hypocrisy from Ning Yan's eyes, and she tried to attack the opponent's memory bank with spiritual power. Undoubtedly, she succeeded in her attack. This person is indeed not a good bird, just wearing a layer of humble gentleman's skin. No wonder they are in sync with Jiang Jinzhi, this is simply a tailor-made CP. Since that's the case, why bother to harm Cui Mingshi? However, the focus now is that Ning Yan's goal for this trip is her. Ning Yan is here. Sit down quickly. Jiang Mama treated the guests politely, and Jiang Jinmei habitually went to pour water for the guests. Don't be busy, I came here for the bright moon. Upon hearing his words, both brothers and Jiang's mother paused, staring blankly at Ning Yan's next text. Ning Yan slowly pushed the gift placed aside towards Jiang Mama. I came to propose marriage to Mingyue. I fell in love with her at first sight. It all depends on whether Aunt Jiang is willing to part ways with her. Jiang Mingyue wanted to laugh now. How could this person have the face to say they fell in love at first sight? They had already discussed with Jiang Jinzhi and wanted to ruin her. However, she really wants to see how her family reacts. As soon as the second brother slapped the table, his thin body turned into Zhang Fei and said, do you have the guts to say it again? With this posture, it seemed that as long as Ning Yan dared to say it again, he could beat the person back and only crawl back. Coincidentally, I saw the tall man holding a torch in front of me and saying, Ning Yan, I thought you were a good person, but I didn't expect you to be a hypocrite. If you flirt with Jiang Jinzhi, you think I don't know. You dare to think of my sister just because of your virtue. I will depose you today. Ning Yan is also a seasoned person. At this point, she was already scared and hid behind Jiang Mama. Unexpectedly, there were wolves behind him. Jiang Mingyue directly carried the drafting block and greeted the person's head. Ah. If you don't agree, just let it go. Why do you hit someone? I'm also well-intentioned. If you don't believe me, I'll see. No one else would be willing to marry you, a lazy daughter. Pa. A basin of water poured Ning Yan into a drowned chicken, which was undoubtedly Jiang Mama. Take your things and get out of here. My daughter deserves the best. With your character, she's only suitable for goods like Jinzhi. Jiang Mama threw the things out directly, and Ning Yan left in embarrassment. Jiang Mingyue. This is another flaw in the original book. The original book doesn't write about the rural old Jiang family like that. Especially Jiang Mama. First, let the newly born child go to the city to enjoy their own happiness, while the daughters of other families come to the countryside to endure hardship. Another issue is the preference for boys over girls, which prevents Jiang Jinzhi from attending school. The reason why Jiang Jinzhi ultimately completed high school was entirely due to her own abilities, such as working for the school and getting the principal to waive her tuition fees. But for now, she is completely skeptical. One is changing children. Where is Jiang Mama, who is greedy for someone else's good life? Another thing is that Jiang Jinzhi is studying. If it were really Jiang Jinzhi's personal strength, where would Jiang's father's monthly pension of 10 yuan go? 10 yuan is quite a lot in this era, and Zhu Xiangxiang works as a nurse in a hospital for only 18 yuan per month. The flour is only 1.81 jin, and 10 yuan is enough to buy over 50 jin, which is enough for the whole family to eat. The Jiang family has never had enough to eat in this situation. They are as thin as dry firewood, their clothes are all patched, and their shoes are all straw shoes. Where did the money from those 10 years go? No need to ask, she bet it was used on Jiang Jinzhi. Mingyue. Don't take what this dog is saying seriously. Mingyue looks good and has a good heart. There must be the best man waiting for her. Jiang Mingyue. It is undeniable that the feeling of having a mother and siblings to care for is truly wonderful. After a farce, it was time for work again, and there was only Jiang Mingyue left at home. Although nobody wants her to work, she can't idle either. Jiang Mingyue returned to her room and immediately entered the space, only to find that the original wasteland had been automatically cleaned up by the space. The turned-over land seemed to be saying, just wait for the seeds to plant. Jiang Mingyue is a bit worried. Out of space, she ran to Grandma Shi's place again. The door was open, and there were clean dishes on the table. The lady sat in a chair, and the fan fell to the ground, indicating that she was asleep. Jiang Mingyue had a misconception that the lady in front of her was not like an old rural lady, but rather like a wealthy and powerful lady in the past. However, she secretly asked Jiang Mingyue that the old lady's background was a poor peasant, and it could not be any other component. After all, the eyes of the masses are all bright. If the ingredients were fake, someone would have reported it long ago. What are you sneaking around for? What's up? Suddenly, Jiang Mingyue was not surprised. Anyway, this old lady was a bit strange. She found a familiar place to sit down. I would like some rice, wheat, potatoes, sweet potato vines, corn, bitter buckwheat, peanuts, sugarcane, etc., preferably to meet the standards for making seeds. Grandma Shi squinted her eyes, but she didn't ask directly. Jiang Mingyue explained it herself first. I asked for it on behalf of a few of my friends. The seeds in the area where they went to the countryside were washed away by floods this year, so I'm asking for your help. Grandma Shi didn't know if she believed it or not, but she pondered slightly and said, okay, I'll ask someone to help you with it. I'll get back to you when I'm done. Thank you, Grandma Shi. I knew she was a capable person. Apple polisher, by the way, Grandma Shi, my house runs out of oil, do you have any? Grandma sure didn't want to talk to her, so Jiang Mingyue went to the kitchen and took the remaining half pot of oil from the stove. Grandma sure snorted coldly. Jiang Mingyue was not affected at all and took a bowl home. Upon returning home, Jiang Mingyue entered the space and took a bath in the spring pool. Looking at her swollen and white knees, she decisively entered the pharmacy. I searched for an alcohol swab and wiped it once, then sprinkled it with anti-inflammatory and healing powder, and took antibiotics. These are not ordinary medicines, they are new drugs developed by more than a dozen pharmaceutical experts in the former base, and their effects are beyond doubt. When Jiang Mingyue came out of the space, she heard some movement in the yard. Upon coming out, it turned out to be Grandma Sure. The old lady had a calm face and said, "You're sleeping soundly. Didn't you want something? I'll have someone deliver it to your backyard." Jiang Mingyue was stunned for a moment, she didn't expect Grandma Sure to be so efficient. When dealing with smart people, they will never seek the bottom line, and Jiang Mingyue naturally won't ask. "Thank you, Grandma Sure," ran happily to the backyard. There is no fence in the front yard of the Jiang family, but there is one in the backyard. It is only made of sunflower poles, woven together with vines one by one, and when erected, it becomes a fence. Not only sturdy, but at least it blocks the outside world from peeping. Jiang Mingyue opened the fence door from inside and a sturdy man smiled at her. End of this chapter.